Hello, I'm reading Chapter 1 in A History of Us, entitled Signing Up. Here we go. It took courage to sign that declaration. John Hancock was first to put his name down. He did it with a big, bold signature, quote, "so the king doesn't have to put on his glasses," he is supposed to have said. Because of that, today, when you sign a document, people sometimes call your signature a John Hancock. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania wouldn't sign. He believed the Declaration was foolhardy. He thought the colonists should work to gain the rights of free citizens within the British Empire. Quote, "I had rather forfeit popularity forever than vote away the blood and happiness of my countrymen," he said. Independence. To Dickinson, that was like destroying our house in winter before we have got another shelter. But he loved America dearly, so after he refused to sign the Declaration of Independence, he enlisted in the Continental Army as a private and fought for his country. And he was right. He did lose his popularity. The citizens outside the red brick Pennsylvania State House, where the delegates voted, were now screaming for independence. That didn't make it easy for the men inside. They knew they would pay with their lives if the colonial army was squashed by Britain, and all the power seemed to be on Great Britain's side. Here's a picture. When the Declaration was read in New York, a mob pulled down the statue of George III in Bowling Green. It was made of 4,000 pounds of lead, from which it was estimated 42,000 bullets could be cast. Here's a picture of these guys signing. It was John Adams, perhaps more than anyone else, who got the delegates to sign the Declaration. Adams was a talker as well as a thinker. At the Second Continental Congress, he kept talking and talking and talking until finally he convinced the delegates. Then John Adams wrote to his wife, Abigail, "Yesterday, the greatest question was decided which ever was debated in America, and a greater perhaps never was nor will be decided among men. A resolution was passed without one dissenting colony, that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. You will see in a few days a declaration setting forth the causes which have impelled us to this mighty revolution, and the reasons which will justify it in the sight of God and men." Copies of the Declaration were still warm from the printing press when they were put on coastal vessels or stuffed into saddlebags so they could be sped on their way to each of the 13 colonies. On July 9, the document reached New York and was read to General Washington's troops, who shouted "Hurrah!" and tossed their hats in the air. That night, a gilded statue of George III was pulled down. Oh, we read about that. And from its pedestal in Manhattan's Bowling Green, and the statue was soon melted and turned into bullets. On July 19, the Declaration arrived in Boston, and Tom Crafts, a house painter, stepped out on a small square balcony in front of the house, Massachusetts State House, and read it aloud. Quote, "When in the course of human events," he began in his flat New England tone, and when he finished, a voice rang out, "God save the American states," and the crowd cheered mightily. 2 days later, Abigail Adams wrote to John. The bells rang, the privateers fired the forts and batteries, the cannon were discharged, the platoons followed, and every face appeared joyful. After dinner, the king's coat of arms were taken down from the State House, and every vestige of him from every place in which it appeared, and burnt. Thus ends royal authority in this state, and all the people shall say, Amen. And this is a picture of these gentlemen standing by the table left to right: John Adams, Roger Sherman, Robert Livingston, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin present the Declaration of Independence to Congress. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. And I encourage you to read the pure text version and take a look at some of these pictures and captions.